Hello. Hey, Ayush. Can you hear me?
Hello, Santosh. Am I audible?
Yeah. Yes, you are. How are you?
Okay, doing good, doing good.
Yeah. Thanks again for joining, and thanks. Sorry for this last minute change. We
No
somehow
worries.
find the other stream. So, okay.
No worries, no worries.
Uh, So, just we have Ayush with us now, and he'll be talking about creating a React app with Wing backend. So, I'll not take much of your time, Ayush. We are starting a little bit early, so we can finish a little bit early probably. But it's over to you. If you want to share your screen, I can just add it on the stream, and then I can leave.
Okay, sure, sure.
Let me know once you share the screen.
Are we live now?
We are live. So whenever you want me to add your screen, just let me know. We are just. I'm just waiting for your screen to be shared.
Okay, okay, okay. Mhm. I guess it should be visible now.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Over to you. So I'll be in backstage. If you need anything, just let me know.
Hmm. Okay, okay, sure. So let me just share my presentation. Okay. So, hello all, and good evening. And I don't know at what time it is at your country, at your state. So, in India, I'm living in India. So, in India, it's currently around 11:30 in the night. So that's why. Good evening, and I'm Aish Thakur, and by profession, I'm a developer advocate, as you can see it on the slide. Developer advocate. It's been around 4 years that I'm working professionally in the tech industry, and I started my started my career as a software engineer, and then I shifted my career in the developer space, in the developer advocacy space, and from there to till now, working as a developer advocate, worked in multiple India and out of India based startups. And along with that, I'm also a technical content creator, create technical content of different formats. For example, writing technical blogs, technical articles, creating technical video tutorials, social media posts, and all that stuff. And also, I'm a community manager, been handling and managing communities for multiple years on multiple social media channels, for example, Twitter, Slack, Discord, Reddit, LinkedIn, and Hacker News, and other platforms. And yeah, I'm also building my own community itself on the Twitter. So there, here are my social media channels. You can follow me here. You can ping me here on LinkedIn, Twitter, GitHub, my Insta. I'm active on all those social media channels. Okay, so I'll not take much of my time explaining introducing myself. So let's just start into the slide, into the talk. So I'm going to talk about how you can create a React app with Wing backend. Okay. So there are basically two main keywords, or you can say the two main words that are highlighted that are main focus towards my whole talk. The first one being the React. I will not talk about React in this whole talk because we are very much aware what React is, our JS framework, our JS library. We can use it to create multiple UI websites and all that stuff. I'll not dig deep into the React. We all know what React is. This talk will revolve around Wing. That is the second main keyword, the Wing, and very few people in the tech industry, and I guess not every one of us will be aware what Wing is. So I'll talk about Wing, how you can create a Wing, how you can create a React app with connected to Wing backend, what Wing is, what problem Wing is solving in the tech industry. Okay, so first of all, a small introduction what Wing is, as you can read it here, an open source world's first cloud programming language. Now, what is cloud programming language? I'll take an example of another programming language. For example, I take an example of JavaScript. We all know what JavaScript is, what TypeScript it is, and what are the applications of it, and all that stuff. And for example, if I consider JavaScript, you write a program on JavaScript, uh, create functions in it, declare variables in it, add functionalities that you want in your web page or in your application to have so that the user can interact with it, right? And then after writing the whole code, you just compile it and run it on your local device, on your machine, whether it's Mac, whether it's a Linux or Windows or any other operating system. You compile it and it runs flawlessly. Okay, so the JavaScript is running on your device. Same as that, Wing is a programming language that runs on cloud services. Al- Also, however, it is a programming language. You can run and test it on your device, but natively it runs on cloud service. For example, it runs on AWS, Azure, GCP, as you can mention, as you can see in here. It runs on AWS Cloud, Azure, GCP, and other cloud services, Kubernetes also. Okay. Now the thing is, why Wing? Why do we need another programming language in the world where we have hundreds or maybe thousands of programming languages already working in the tech industry? We have JavaScript for web development, Python for machine learning, Swift for iOS development, and Swift for and a lot of applications and all that stuff. So why do we need another programming language? So the thing is, the main problem Wing solves is it makes it easy for the developers to build and deploy cloud applications from scratch. Okay. So if you have ever worked with the cloud application, you used any cloud application, or even developed any cloud application, then you have noticed that a traditional cloud application basically has two parts. Okay, the first one being the application code. Okay, that consists basically of the scripts, the component, the functionalities, the features that we want in our cloud application. That how we want a cloud application to behave. Okay, and the second thing is infrastructure. Infrastructure basically is the whole data structure of your whole cloud application. For example, it involves working with the bucket, working with queue, working with stacks, and all that stuff. How you want your whole cloud application to be structured in a way. How you want your whole cloud application to have the data structure to store the data and work with the data to manipulate to operate the data. Okay, so these are the two main things that any cloud application consists of. So what Wing does is it basically merges these two concepts, these two models in a single programming model so that it makes it easy for the developers to work on all those two models in a single programming language. In traditional method, the developers used to first code a whole application code. This whole application code in a whole separate programming language, whether it's a JavaScript, TypeScript, C++, C, Java, or any other programming language. Then they have to code a whole different code or any other software. For example, the most commonly used is Terraform. Okay. Now the Wing does is it merges these two concepts, these two models in a single model so that it makes it easy for the developers to code the whole program, develop the whole program in a single model, uh, removing any pain point, removing the obstacle to code the whole program in two different models and making them a single so that the developers can test it, deploy it, experiment with it, and basically code the whole program in a single model. Okay, so this is the main problem that Wing solves, and you can see this is a practical application. What Wing does is on the left hand side you can see without Wing. So this whole is the Terraform code, and this whole Terraform code and a JavaScript code to simply create a bucket and store the hello world text in it having a file. Okay, so you have to code this whole code in Terraform and JavaScript to simply create a simple bucket and save a normal string in it. Okay, on the right hand side, what Wing does is it makes it this much simple to simply create a bucket using the cloud library that Wing comes along with. The Wing has inbuilt with it the cloud library, and you can simply use that cloud library to create a simple bucket and store whatever the string you need to store in that bucket. Okay, you don't have to write the whole code uh, and define the whole functionality of the bucket everything comes within the wing. You just have to use it, extract it, give it a name to the bucket, and simply store the data that you want to store in that bucket. It makes it this much simple. It makes it buttery smooth for the developers to code the whole cloud application, deploy it on the original cloud services. Okay. And benefits, obviously, you can develop and test it locally. Obviously, it being a programming language, you can code the whole program in your device, test it locally, develop it, code the whole program. And it's the one of the main feature, one of the main, you can say, the USP that Bing comes in. It comes with its own simulator that allows the developers to visually to have a visual appearance what their the what will be the uh, how their cloud application will behave, how their cloud application will work. They can test it, experiment it, and play with it to test it to check whether if it is cracking severe, whether it's having any error, any bug in the whole program, and they can obviously debug it, remove the bug, and it is compatible with the current stack. Whatever programming language do you use, whether it's JavaScript, TypeScript, or C++, C, Java, or any other JS framework, or any other Python framework you can use. It is totally compatible with all your current data stack, and it is fully customizable, flexible. Obviously, it being a programming language, you can fully customize it, develop the functionality you want with it, and offer the cloud diversity because Bing is fully compatible with each and every platform that is compatible with Terraform. For example, we all know that Terraform is compatible with IBM Cloud Service, GCP, Azure, and other cloud services. So on every platform where Terraform works, Bing will also be compatible with all those platforms. Okay, so before creating a React app, let's have a small demo what Bing does is. Okay, so I will create a new file to show you what Bing does is. I'll name it main.w, w being the extension file, extension name for the Bing file. Okay, so here you can simply bring the cloud library from the Wing and make sure you install the Wing npm package before doing it. I have already done it. Okay, so for that you can simply go to terminal, type npm I /g and winglang. It will download the npm package of Wing, and after that you can carry forward with it. And you can also you can install the winglang extension, VS Code extension. I have already done it, so you don't have. So I don't have to done it. You can do it in your VS Code. Okay. Okay. So here we are. I have created a simple file name having a main.w and bring the cloud library from the Wing. And now I will create a bucket using this cloud library. Let bucket being the name of the bucket. Okay, cloud dot bucket. Simple, no rocket science. Okay, here we have listed the new keyword. Okay, cool. So we have created a bucket. Now let's create a queue because obviously every cloud application does have a bucket and a queue. And let's create an API so that we can do the transformation, do the transaction of the data. Okay. So here becomes the new cloud.API, and you can clearly see the cloud library has all the three things: the cloud, the bucket, the queue, and the API. You just have to extract it from the Wing library, and it will work flawlessly. Okay, so cool. No rocket, no rocket science. Everything simple, smooth going. Okay, now let's run it and see what it shows on the simulator part. Okay, so what I'll do is open the terminal and type the command uh, wing it main.w being the file name and wing it being the run command. Okay, let's hit enter and see what it shows on the simulator side. Okay, let's wait for a bit to. Okay, so it is running on. Open it and see. Here, this is the whole simulator, the Wing simulator, and this is the endpoint that has its own endpoint. This is the bucket that we have created, and this is the queue we just have to create it. Okay, so all the things we have created is showing perfectly here, no error. Okay, So now let's just push some data into the API we have created. So here we create an endpoint for the API that is the int, and here we will use the implied method to return the thing that will trigger when we fetch the data from that endpoint. And here we want, whenever we want this inc endpoint to get, we want this queue, we want to push some data into the queue. Okay, so let's try to push some data. Messages pushed. Cool. And here comes the return statement that will return the status 200. Cool. Okay. Okay. Cool. Uh, inside method. Okay. Sorry, sorry. This has to be post, not push. Post method. Cool. Yes. So whenever we'll go to this endpoint inf on the API, this whole message will be pushed to the queue. Okay. And now now we want, whenever this message is pushed to the queue, we want a file to be created into the bucket with the name message is pushed, okay, and having some data, having a string stored in it. So let's do it. For that, we will go to the queue. We'll use the set consumer, okay, and use the int method having a argument message, having the string that we want to store into the bucket, and here we will do the bucket, okay, bucket dot put, and first being the name file of the name, that will be message, and here let's put hello world. Okay, semicolon, semicolon. Cool, cool. Okay, so if I go to the and see here, our API has been connected with the end. See, our API has been connected to the queue. Okay, because every time that ink, that inc, the endpoint will be triggered, it will push the data, it will push the string to the queue, and that queue will create a file into the bucket with having the name messages push and storing the string hello world. Okay, so let's test it. Here we select the ink, the post method, click on send, and see here it is showing 200. Okay, the state is 200. Okay, that we have defined. Okay, and in the queue and in the bucket, see message push file has been created, and this file is storing the data hello world. Simple, super smooth, breeze, cool. Okay, no rocket science, simple. Now you can do a lot more along with that. So let's create a counter, because the cloud library comes with the counter method also. So new cloud counter. Okay, and let's keep the initial value of the counter be 1. Okay, so okay, initial value I cool, cool. Okay, so what is it is showing? Okay, okay, so now we want, every time we want the ink to be, we want every time we want the ink endpoint to be triggered, we want to increase the counter for that we will use the ink method on the counter to increase the value. Okay, and here we want the value of the counter to show. For that we have dynamically used the counter.peak method. Okay, and here we can also do that. Okay, so now now we can try it again. Now let it load. Okay. So Cool. See, so you can see the counter has been created into the simulator. Now, if we go to the end, click on send. See 200k is 200 okay is showing. And if you want to do bucket, go to the bucket and see message is one is showing, and message is one is holding the value hello world. Simple, cool. Okay. And if you click on it 2 to 3 times and go to the bucket and see 2, 3, 4. Every time we click on send, the value of the counter is increasing, and the depending based upon that, the name of the file is also getting changed based upon that. Okay, and you can also decrease the value of the whole counter if you want. Okay, for that we can simply duplicate this method and change the endpoint. Let's keep it dec dex and use the dec method. Okay, now if we go to the let it reload and okay, let it load. Give it a few seconds. Mhm. Okay, it should work. Everything is correct here. Okay, let's give it a hard refresh and see. Here DEC is showing, and if you click on DEC, click on send button and click on here. Let's click on again send. Okay, and that's how the value of the counter is decreasing. Cool. Okay. So that's how the main.w works here. That's how you can create the API. That's how you can create the queue bucket and other methods. You can simply go to the VLAN docs and read it more about it. Read it more about from their documentation. Okay. Now let's create the reactor that we were talking about. Okay. Let's create a reactor. For for you, I have already created a reactor from the scratch. I'll explain it to you what we have done here. So here's it, React Wing. Okay. So cool. So here basically we have two main folders. First being the backend that holds the whole API that holds all the data, and second being the client that is a simple basic React app that we have created from the scratch. No rocket science there. Okay. So in main.w we have user X library and the cloud library that Wing comes with. Okay, and in the X, there's a React app method that we can use in a React app to use that we can use in the main.w file to use to combine it to pair it with a React app. Okay, we have user use build command, kept it true because obviously we want to use a build command, the project file, that being build command that we want to run. Okay, and after that we have used react.add environment, because when this file will be run, this it will add this key having this value stored in our API. Okay, and here we have created our API, new cloud API that I have also shown you, and this API API URL key and API dot URL, that will be the endpoint, that will be the link. You can see the URL at our where our API is getting load, where our API is working. And here comes with the dot slash title endpoint. It will return the status 200 and the body having the this thing hello from the API. Okay, and here in the React in the front end side, in the app.js, we are simply using the usage method, title and site title having a default value as default value. Okay, and response is basically fetching the data from this endpoint. Okay, and the fetch data is gets stored into the set title. Simple, smooth, and eventually we are simply displaying the title after getting fetched into the front end side to the user. Okay, so first we will run the API, we will run the Wing file so that our API starts working, and after that we will run the front end side for so that it runs our React app and shows it to the user. Okay, so to run the to run the backend file, we will use the Wingit with backend slash main.w, because now our main.w file resides inside the backend directory. Okay, that's why we have used it. And if we click it, hit enter, uh, it should start working. Okay, see the Wing console is running at host 3000. If I click on it and let's give it a hard refresh, and see our React app is created. It has a website in it and the endpoint, and our API is also created. Okay. Now, if I open a new terminal, go to the client directory, inside the client directory, okay, and npm run start to start our React app, to run our React app. You will, for a fraction of a second, for the initial second, you will see the default value, that is this string default value. And after the data gets fetched successfully, it will show hello from the API. That is the value that is fetched from the API. Okay. For a fraction of a second, you will see the default value, and after that, you will see the hello from the API string that is fetched from the API. Okay. So don't blink it, otherwise you will miss it. Okay. So here I will, yes. Okay. To open it on another port, because on our local host 3000, our API is working, the API is running. Okay. Okay. Start the development software. It is starting, and it should work properly. And okay, see default value, and see hello from the API. Okay. For a fraction of a second, it was the default value, and after the data was fetched, it is showing hello from the API. Let me do it once more for the people who have may have missed it. Okay. I'll restart the server. Okay. So npm run start. Okay. Okay. Yes. And it is running localhost 3001 default value, and see hello from the API. First it was default value, and now it is showing hello from the API. So that shows the data is successfully fetched, and that shows that our API, this API is working perfectly. Okay, so that's how you can get. Here I have shown a very simple, very basic example of the whole thing, but you can use your own creativity, using your thinking, using your own skills to create multiple a ton of projects using this thing. You can also use DynamoDB and other file storing systems with the Winglang to create some really cool, interesting projects. Some of them being like a Shopify kind of website, an e-commerce kind of website, uh, or you can use a to-do list, a note-taking app, or there are endless ways, there are endless possibilities of projects that you can create using Wing. Okay, and that was the app, and you can simply let me just present it. Okay, you can simply scan this QR code, and okay, you can simply scan this QR code, because this QR code will divert you to a GitHub repository, and that GitHub repository holds all the steps you can perform, all the things, all the technology that you need in your device to run the Windows, all the stuff that you can perform to create a similar app, to create a similar React app that I have shown you. Okay, and yeah, and let me drop a link. Okay, just give me a second so that I can drop a link of this GitHub repository to the comment section itself. Let me do it from the Winglang official website as well, so that you can have a look on the official website also. So here's the official website of the whole Wingland. You can go it, play around with it. They have their own playground, they have their own online ID itself, so that you can play around with the Wingland, try, test it, explore more about it. Okay, and you can simply go to the GitHub repository, and here, this is the GitHub repository, the GitHub Winglang Wing Shop. Okay, and let me just okay. I'll drop this link in the comment section itself. You can have them. You can copy it from there, use it there, and I've also written a blog on it. I'll share the link of that blog itself in the chat in the comment section itself. You can read it out, follow the steps, try it out, and here you can scan this code. This code contains all my socials, all my social media platforms where I'm currently active on, present on. It includes my GitHub, Twitter, LinkedIn, my mail ID. So if you have any query, any doubt, Binglang, or apart from Binglang, apart from any apart from Binglang, any query or any doubt related to tech industry, related to jobs, careers, if you are getting stuck in your tech industry or anything, you can simply ping me. I'll always be there to help you out, to solve you out, to be a helping hand of you, and I'll be more than happy to help you to be a helping hand, and to somehow add a value to your life. And thank you. That was all. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hey, yeah, Ayush, thank you for this great talk. And in case anyone has question, please go ahead and ask Ayush on the social media. He's available there.
Sure, sure.
And Ayush, just one heads up, like don't disconnect until your recording is
Mm,
uploaded. So there is a recording tab. You can see if your video is uploaded or not. So
sure.
with this, thank you again for your time.
And can I
Uh,
just drop the link of the GitHub repo
yeah,
and the other thing in the chat itself, so that you can share it on the
yeah,
share
sure,
it with
sure,
the
do that.
audience?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Hey, Minal. Okay, let's bring Rohit on stage, and I'll go back, and you can take over.
All right. Hello, Rohit. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm audible.
All right. Yeah, you're audible.
Okay.
So I see that you will be talking on the topic, are you perfectly authorized?
Yeah.
So would you like to tell a little bit more about it besides the title of it?
Yeah. So as it represents,
Yeah.
we will be discussing about authorization. So auth with Z, not auth
Mhm.
with N. So people is a lot of confusing, like what is auth N and auth Z, like auth N with
Yeah.
authentication and auth Z with authorization. So I'm just
Yeah,
here
that makes
to
sense.
clear that confusion and dive into more about with the referencing one open source project, which I am currently working with.
All right. Sounds great. The screen is yours. I'll be backstage if you need any help, right?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Hello everyone. So as it is given here, so we will be talking about, are you perfectly authorized? So what actually is this topic? So we already talked about, but yeah, here I am. So who am I? I'm Rohit Gumre. So I have been working as in this develop background from a long time. So currently working as a development manager at suppose.dev. Sorry. And here you will see like I'm also working as a Google developer expert. Like it is just like I'm contributing to the communities in the form of a Google developer expert, as well as CNCF ambassador, which is one kind of a appreciation from CSF. Then I'm also creator of communities like DevOps community, developer relations community. And if you want to connect with me, then these are the handles like Twitter, LinkedIn, portfolio. There are a lot of things there if you want to learn about the DevOps, cloud native, anything, you can just go and learn about the same. So as we talked about this, right? So we will be discussing about auth, which is nothing but let's clarify the difference between the authentication and authorization. So authentication verifies identity through credentials like username and password. So authorization determines what an authenticated user is allowed to do within a system. So let's say you go to some system and you log in with your password, then you get some access token. So that access token or cookie you get, right, then it is granted, and then it is verified by the authorization. Then authorization checks are done, and then you can you are the any user or something that will be provided with particular actions and resources. So what I'm talking about, I will make it more simple to you in some minutes. So as you can see here, so that's what I'm going to discuss today. So let me show you this diagram. So let's say there is a user which logins and sign up with some password. So authentication is something which will just manage the permissions within a system. Like it refers to asking user like password and credentials, and once you provide it, then it will say like who are you, and once you provide it, it returns with access tokens or cookies. Similarly, auth on the other end, it is like it refers to what permission user has to do action on resources. So if you have like valid access, then it will just go and tell like allow or deny, which is nothing but, if you look into this diagram, you will see like user logs in with his password and something, then it authenticates, it get some access token. Once access token is granted, then authorization checks happens. So with using this uses with using these tokens, so once it is used, then you have some resources, right? Then it will just say like allow or deny. That's what I'm representing here. So what is auth for you? It is like big thing, right? So today I'm going to explain the auth in the way of a really popular term, which is anime. So I have been anime fan from long time. You must have seen in my previous talks. So here what we are talking about, so let's say like there is Naruto. If you have watched it, you will be lucky today. If you have not watched, I will make it simple for you. So there are some chronology, there is hierarchy, right? So Hokage is something leader, it is nothing but access type today. Then Hokage is something is role, and there is hierarchy shown here. So in particular village, there are like different accesses are given to different people, and based on those roles, they can get that access to particular resource. So what kind of a resource? So let's talk about that. So let's say Hokage orders something, then there are different roles: Jonin, Chunin, Genin. That is 3 roles. So particular role has a particular missions they can access to. Let's say you are at top access, top role access, then they can access the S rank and A rank kind of missions. If you are middle role, which is Chunin, then you can access the B and C. Similarly, lower, which was the academy role, which is Genin, which can access the C and D, because you are just starting out. So you must have seen like 2 of the ranks with a particular 2 of a different roles. This kind of hierarchy sometimes takes place, and there is like you have to maintain this access particularly with some kind of actions. So what you can do here? So there are some challenges with the basic authorization. As you have seen, like there was a two missions which can be accessed by both kind of roles. So this time RBAC requires RBAC requires some challenges. So it often requires redesign as a system scales in like let's talk about that. So there are different types of access controls. You will see here like RBAC, ABAC, REBAC. So what is RBAC? Which is nothing but role-based access control. Then there is the attribute-based access control. And third is the relation-based access control. So it is highly recommended. It is like prefer ABAC and REBAC over RBAC. Why is it so? I will just explain you with these diagrams. So let's talk about RBAC. So there are user, right? The user role is a finance manager, and there is a permissions which is like finance docs, it is like read write permissions. So access decision will be done based on the user role and permissions. So in RBAC, what happens, like if particular role has the access permissions are determined by the roles assigned to the user. So for instance, a user with the role of a finance manager has a specific permission such as a read write access to finance document. The system evaluates the user's role and the associated permissions to make an access decision. So that's what we are showing here. So you will see like users role and the resource permission are evaluated to make any access decision. It is straightforward but limited in flexibility, because as roles are fixed and predefined, you can't do most of the things. So how can we achieve like granular level control for this kind of like advanced accesses? So there we are with the ABAC. So ABAC, you will see like there is a user attributes and document attributes. So what this means, so in user attributes you will see like department is there, clearance is there, document, there is type, there is security level. These are some kind of attributes. They will be evaluated to provide the access decision based on a user and document attributes. So what we are talking about here, so ABAC uses these attributes associated with both users and resources to make access decision. This model allows for more granular control by considering various user attributes. Like here we are talking about department, here department, clearance, and resource attributes, which is nothing but a type, security level. So let's take one example, which is like user in the user is in the finance department with high clearance. So they can access only high security financial documents. They can't access other things. So the APAC diagram illustrates that both user attributes and document attributes are evaluated to determine access. This approach provides greater flexibility and can accommodate complex access control requirements. So last is your relation based access control, also known as a scope based access control. So here you will see like there is a user, there is a document owner, there is a relationship between the both. These are evaluated, and based on this relationship access is provided. So reback focuses on the relationships between user to determine access permission. So let's say access decisions are based on their natural relationships rather than static roles or attributes, which we discussed currently. For example, if John reports to Mary, John might have some certain permissions on documents which Mary owned. So that's what we are talking about here. So diagram shows that only the user's identity, the document's owner identity, and their relationship are evaluated, making an access decision. This model is particularly useful in environment where you have like a lot of hierarchy, and between the hierarchy you must have like different relationship. So depending on that relationship, access control is necessary, right? So so if we want to scale the company, uh, like process of scaling a company is like very big term, but let's discuss that here. These are all there are like all the different stages that I have personally gone through when it comes to authorizing access and identity and access management inside of a system. And there are like some pivot points where you need to rethink how you approach authorization. So scaling a company is like really difficult thing, but how, let's discuss here. So there are like and this is just term like the blissful days of role, where we can easily just define some role and all will have the admin access and they can access everything. So that's what we are seeing here. So this is just like user.email.includes at mycompany.com, which is like your company's domain. And here like all our admins scope inside admin. So initially in your company start, you will say like this is common, like RBAC is common. For example, internal employees with the company domain emails are granted admin privileges. This binary approach works for initial prototypes, but soon becomes like really irrelevant because everyone will have the admin access. Then it is really problem in the future, right? So like maybe use auth scopes and all. So let's discuss further like what will be the stage 2 of our team, sales team. So let's change our product packaging. Now, like as product grows, there are like feature flags and different user packages which complicates authorization. You start adding conditions to your code, like what can be done. So this is really you will see like a lot of companies try to grow their team, and sorry, grow their product by and they want to sell it, right? So they have to do something, right? They have to provide some limited access to limited user, and limited resource will have the limited access to by the limited person. So what can be done here? So you start adding the conditions to your code, like checking user packages, regions, and which can be really different, right? So that's what we are seeing here. Like yeah, there is user email includes, which we previously done. Now the company dot package we have, like they can access the premium feature only. So yeah, feature flags. Then uh, stage 3 is nothing but now sales team demand, like we are we are in different like there is some company, right? Let's say if you are dealing with big companies like emac or something, then you have to uh, and that sales team demand, like let's keep like a limited access for the EU region, and this limited access for the US region. And then you have to set the region specific data access control for your company, because there is some downfall of the safe harbor agreement, and there is legal changes. So you have to verify, you have to go through it. So what we can do here, this just adds another layer of checks to your code, which is nothing but we will just add like if loop, where like user dot region is EU. If yes, then they can fetch data from EU region. If not, then they have to they can fetch from the US region. But you can keep like for if loop, then how much is you can. So nothing but you can use here like auth scopes or SAS, can, then CSL, and a lot of things you can use. So now big challenge is like selling to the enterprise organizations. So we talked about a lot of things. Now selling to large enterprisation with like basic roles, that not gonna happen, right? So organization needs detailed user groups, sometimes roles, hierarchies, and this often requires integrating directory systems like LDAP, then restricting your code to handle more complex permissions. So how to do that? You will see here I'm just using groups here, which is nothing but company dot package is equal to premium was previous condition. Now we are adding one more, which is like user dot groups includes managers. Then they can go to the US region data access for the EU, or they can do for the US. So we are like just using the directory attributes with custom logic. And so here we use the groups. So if company wants keep the email separate, keep the package separate, keep the groups separate, keep the region separate, and according to that you can sell to the enterprises. This is this looks new to a lot of things, but it is really common, right? So stage 5, let's say now your company is grown. Now the company needs the compliance and auditing, and implementing standardized logging for access control decisions become essential at this time, especially for like regulatory audits and security certification, because your company has grown really well, and now you need someone your company to have some logging audits. They are pushing some data into the logging aggregator, and they are using that for the future reference. So there is a high level of security certifications needed, then audits needed, right? So for this it is always crucial to have like yeah, it is always crucial to have like detailed logging and auditing of access control decisions. The codes this our code includes you will see here like logging statements to record your important events, which helps in maintaining the audit trail and ensuring your accountability. Nothing but you will see like audit.log fetching data from EU region, fetch data from EU region. So this ensures that every access to EU region data is recorded. So which is important for compliance with the data residency and privacy regulations. This is really important. Similarly, this statement logs access to US region, as you can see here. And similarly, if logs every this access denied is like logs every denied access attempt, which is crucial for detecting and investigating unauthorized success attempts. So they just have to deny. So what we are using here, it is just like logging libraries we are using here. What is the advantages of this? It is like traceability. So logs provide a traceable record of access control decisions, helping to track who access what and when. So similarly there is accountability. So logging ensures that there is a record of all actions taken by users, so which can be renewed during audits. You must have seen this in your companies a lot. Security, which is third and important advance. So detailed logs can help identify suspicious activities and potential security breaches, which helps a lot when you're dealing with the enterprises. Stage 6, yeah, we need microservices. This is like, if you are building some company, once in a life, once in some months, you will know like there is a discussion coming a lot, like monoliths or microservices. So as this comes in the picture, decoupling authorization logic into a standalone service is key to managing growing complexity. This service evaluates policies and returns allow deny decisions, centralizing authorization logic and making it more manageable. So what I'm talking about, it is here. So this looks really nice, but when you have to deal with the microservices, the company will ask you to yeah, we have this code now translated to different languages. We have Java, PHP, and Python and all. So this will really take you a lot of times, and uh, this will keep as it is when, like, if you have to do like a lot of changes in the future. So no one really like to touch it again, and they want to make the changes. So problem is like this, as this comes into the picture, it doesn't make sense to your team, and similarly it is not scalable, as we can see here. So what can be the scalable approach in this case, or how we can use this? So there is a new approach. So there is a lot of talk about build versus buy and X as a service. So this is really popular term, right? So this was easy when people were just using the passwords to log in, and they were using the uh, sign-ups, login, and using the password or some keys to go into the system and done. But nowadays companies started a person or company started using the single sign-on authentication and etc. So what authentication in the like factor authentication and all. So what happens now? So like now the moving from RBAC to ABAC involves like defining policies that contains user and resource attributes. So let's say, for instance, owner role, which is really popular role, right? So it can't be predefined statically, but depends on the user and resource content. So what I'm saying here is like Auth0, which is like Auth0 is really popular, right? So, and many companies just want to use Auth0 directly because they don't want to build their own, because it just works, right? So, and it is it is already acquired by Okta, right? It is nice, and just companies just use it. So in this case, you will see here authorization as a service, which we want to talk about. So there is a principal, there is a resource, action. So like principal want to do some action on some resource. So that all of the details can be provided to the authorizing service. Similarly, uh, uh, similarly, there should be some rule book. There should be some rules which should be defined. So that is defined and that is given to the authorizing service. Evaluating all of these, then our authorizing service can come up with the decisions like allow or deny. So that is what we need, right? Once we have all of these things, a database, the policies and APIs, then using that we can just come up with the answer which is allow or deny. That is actually the need of everyone in the security. So code to policy, so what we are talking about here, or we can say policy as a code or something. So defining policies in a central repository, versioning them and deploying them independently from your application code, that is the approach we need currently. Ensures consistent and scalable authorization logic across your system. So that's what we were talking about. I'm working on one project which is a Cerbos, which is open source project. You can just go and check it out. So it helps you to make your complex authorization logic, defining inside the YML code, which is easy to read. And why YML? So a lot of people will ask that. So it is just easy to use, and we have been part of like a lot of cloud native world, right, which is buzz today. So YML is used a lot by a lot of companies, and you can just use this use Subos as a, like just a sidecar or something with the Kubernetes, and it just connects. So you just have like decoupled from your application code configuration files. So, and one of the thing which I like about Subos is like it is so easy to do the granular access. Like one main thing about ABAC, which is differentiates a lot with the RBAC, which is like uh, when you want to do the owner role is one of the biggest example, right? So if you want to give some access to the owner role, then it is like you have to check in a manner like principle of uh, authorization to the some resources with the like owner id of like attribute. So it will only allow if that matches to the principal id. If it doesn't if it doesn't matches, then it just denies. So that is what conditions it is given here. So in these conditions, it is just like common expression language by Google, and entire thing is YML. So it is just easy to use, and it is like decoupled from your entire code, so you can use it anytime in the future. You don't have to disturb your application with any changes and something. So there is a lot of rise of sidecars, right? So as we deal with the Kubernetes, so one of the example is I want to show here. Like here, user requests something to the main container in your Kubernetes pod, where you will see like a main container is a web server. So it will handle that incoming request and write logs to the shared volume, and then our sidecar container log service just reads that from the volume, and forwards them to the log aggregation service such as the ELK stack or something. This centralized system that stores and analyzes log from multiple sources provide insights into application performance and issues. So as you can see here, sidecar handles the business logic and everything, and main containers can just work just focus on the actual implementation and development of the work, right? So that's what we want to focus here. So Subos is like driven by K8s, and is like uh, K8s Kubernetes, right? So has popularized the use of sidecars. Kubernetes orchestrate containerized applications, ensuring them to be run efficiently and reliably. And it is really big ecosystem. I love Kubernetes a lot. Then used for authentication, logging metrics, etc. What we are saying here is like sidecars are containers that run alongside the main application container within the same pod. So they also handle like additional functionalities like verifying the identity, collecting forwarding logs from the main container, gathering performance and usage metrics. Useful as a co-located with instance, nothing but sidecars share the same environment and resources as the main container. So allows them to efficiently perform tasks that requires close integration with in the application, such as like logging, metric collection. It is easy, like they can directly fetch that from there. So you can use like any containers, like you can use the Docker container and all. But now there is a popular thing which is WebAssembly, right? So you can directly go and use the WebAssembly module. We also provide that. You just go use the WebAssembly model and you can just fetch the bundle URL from Subos Hub and use it. So in practice, so to explain this architecture, I will just take some few of the minutes. So you have to focus here. So there is an end user, right, that initiates a request to the application. The application receives the user request and process it. Now the application interacts with the identity and roles services to fetch user information and roles. The application retrieves user identity and roles from the organization directory, which stores user attributes and role assignments. Now there is authentication provider. It ensures that user is authenticated and provides identity details that can be used later, right? Now application, which is nothing but your anything, it can be APIs, it has taken from the APIs and all. So the application accesses various services and databases to fetch or store data as part of the handling the user's request. So it can be now it can, then there is a principal. It has a principal which represent the user or service making the request, which we're talking about from the start, right? You can identify it by attributes or ID and any relevant data. Resource is nothing but specific resource the user want to access. Similarly, the actions the user want to perform on the resource. So what Subos is doing here, Subos is like authorization service which evaluates whether the principal user is nothing but principal here, is allowed to perform the specified actions on this resource. So servos can be implemented by WebAssembly model or Docker container or another deployment method, whatever we provide. So you can just go to the documentation and learn about that. Then policy repository. So there is some stores provided by Subos where you can store your policies, defining the authorization logic. Policies can stored in a database, disk storage, Git repository. Then there are a lot of things you can go and check it out. We provide a lot of things to fetch the policies. Then once this is done, then decisions taken and there will be some logging done. So servos will evaluate the policies and decide whether the action is allowed or denied. Simply allow or deny will be the return. Also it will provide the audit logs, which is like authorization decisions are logged for audit processes. These logs provide like trace and all record, which we talked from the start, right, which will help you for the compliance and security audits. We discussed it a lot from the start while scaling the company. So what will be the end response to the user? The application uses the authorization decision to either grant or deny the user's request and sends an appropriate decision back to the user. And so whatever was the big code which we talked about previously, it is now just a simple line. So what I'm talking about here, you will see like we talked about a big code here, right? Now this is just like small suppose authorize user post edit. So because entire logic is done under the servos, so in future when you want to deal with a uh, lot of system, let's say big line of a course and big logic of a policy rules and all, then you don't have to deal with the application and go and change and disturb the application. You can just simply edit the policies. So logic is defined centrally, which is nothing but authorization logic is defined centrally in servos, which helps reducing the redundancy, ensuring consistency across different parts of the application. Then policy can evolve independently code. So which helps in the scalability and flexibility, making it easier to manage and scale the system, right? Language, framework, and architecture agnostic, nothing but you can use it in like different languages. We provide everything. You just have to go to the play.subos.dev. You will see like there are different languages. It's Flag Playground, which provides different types of code. You just you can just go and use it, and in simple terms, it is like you can integrate with all of the things, or all of the authentication of the language, any framework, any architecture, doesn't matter. It is GitOps friendly, so yeah, you can use it. Then decoupling, so separating authorization logic from the application code simplifies the overall architecture, which improves your maintainability, right? So similarly, it will help you for the compliance and auditing, which we talked about. Yeah, of course, there is some challenges, which is nothing but you have now another service to deploy, run, and scale. Similarly, there is new DSL language to learn for the writing policies in some cases, a new component in the critical path, which is not big concern, right? So I hope you learned about some things here. So if you want, you can go to the suppose.dev and check about this project. I would like to conclude the talk with like if you're looking for some modernized authorization, so basic rules to decouple attribute based approach streamlines your system. This will enhance your scalability, simplifies the compliance. So I would recommend you to learn about the tools like Servos, because these are the open source solutions which will advance the authorization, and it will help a lot. So I work at a company which is Servos, which has their product, like open source project, is used by a lot of companies, as you can see here. If you like a talk, if you learned a lot about Servos today, just go to the github.com Servos and learn about Servos. If you like it, you can just give it a star or something. And if you have any doubts, you can just ping me anytime. I'm freely available. So thank you. I guess I helped you a lot today.
Yeah, that was a great talk, Rohit.
Thank you.
Yeah, learned a lot actually. We have one of the questions. Oh, I thought we had one of the questions on the chat, but even if they are, I think they will ping you directly over your socials. So that is it.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you for having me.
thank you for joining in. Yeah, I think we have our next speaker. Uh, I'll just add him on stage. Hi, Samuel.
Hi,
Can you hear
can you
me?
hear me?
Hi, yeah, I
Yeah,
can hear
hi.
you.
Hi.
Welcome. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah, I see that you'll be talking on building and deploying mobile apps, which will be a developer's guide to the easy CI/CD pipeline, I think,
Yes, yes.
right? All right, the stage is yours. You can take it. I'll be backstage if you need any help. All right,
All right, thank you.
cool.
Um, moment while I try to share my screen. Um, all right. Hi everyone. I'm Samuel Abada. Samuel Abada. Good developer expert for Flutter and that. I currently lead the mobile development effort at Shortless Mobility, and also lead the on trip and entertainment department at Shortless Mobility. Yeah, today we'll be looking at building and deploying mobile apps, a developer's guide to easy CI/CD. Right. The essence of this talk basically is to give us mobile engineers a look at how CI/CD is done in mobile apps, irrespective of the framework you're using, Flutter, native Android, iOS, React Native, right? At the core, it's the same, right? But there might be specifics due to framework differences and the likes. Okay, this page was meant to be an intro of myself, but it's blank. I did give my name already. Um, yeah, building and deploying mobile apps, developer guide to CI/CD. We have to understand what CI itself is, what the term CI is, right, and also what CD is, right. If everybody says CI/CD, so what is it? So CI/CD acronym, right? CI is continuous integration, and then CD is continuous development and deployment, right? Some people say development or deployment, right? CI/CD is basically a tool that helps to automate tedious tasks, right? Right from building an app, right, to deploying it into production. It basically exists to make your life as a developer easier, right? I said CI is a development practice where developers frequently merge their code into a central repository, right? Each merge triggers automated build and tests, ensuring that the new code integrates smoothly into the existing code base. What you do here, simple things as simple as making lint check, right? Static code analysis, running tests, just to ensure that the new code, the incoming code, right, integrates properly with the existing code base and nothing is broken, right? That's CI. That's CI, continuous integration, right? Then when we talk about CD, that's it extends CI by automatically deploying the code changes that passes this test to a production environment. This ensures that the application is always in a deployable state. CD is basically there to help release newly built version of your app or products to customers or testers or to end users as quickly as possible, right? So whenever you ship new code to the whenever you push new code, right? Your CI ensures that, oh, this incoming code integrates properly with the existing code. Now the code is merged, right? The work of CD, continuous deployment, continuous delivery, right? Is to ensure that this new version of the app gets to the customers as quickly as possible. Ideally, when you are building, right, the manual way involves you have new code, you manually generate the build, right? The artifact, it might be an APK, might be a .ipa, right? And you would manually have to deploy it or send this to the respective store. It could be TestFlight, Apple Store, Connect, it could be Play Store, it could be Firebase app distribution. So that's the manual process, right? So taking all this manual process, right, and automating the whole thing, that's what the whole CI/CD is about. Which is why earlier I said CI/CD is a tool that helps to automate a tedious task from building the application to deploying it in production and keeping it in the hands of your users, making your life as a developer easier. That's the whole idea of CI/CD. All right, let's look at why CI/CD, right? What are one of the benefits of CI/CD, right? One is faster development cycle. Once I have the code that is ready, I have pushed the code to the code repository. The CI has picked it up, uh, run certain checks against the new code, things like lint check, formatting, static code analysis, running tests, right? Running the new test, running X previous test, right? To ensure that this code fits perfectly with the existing code now, right? So that's faster development cycle. Once the code gets merged, the app is deployed to the deployed and sent to wherever it's being sent, so that the end users get hold of this application, right? So that's a development cycle. It also helps to improve code quality, right? Take cases where, take cases where um, I had just like done a quick git commit and I pushed already, right? I did not check. I For some reason, did not run the existing tests, right? Or the code formatting was bad, or there were linked issues here and there, which I, for some reason, I ignored, right? Once this code is being pushed, right, my the CI picks it up, then validate this code change, right? Those processes that are skipped locally are being done on the CI, right? Hence the code is being validated. So if there's problem with the code, you get feedback, right? Problem with the code, you get feedback. You can then correct the code and then make changes and push upstream again, right? So you tend to improve your code quality, and then it helps to streamline your deployment process. That's another benefit of CI/CD mobile development. The fact that you get to automate the build, right? Automation of the build, you automate the test process, you automate the deployment process, right? Automating those three processes reduces manual intervention to the barest minimum, right? Thereby minimizing error and speeding up releases. The manual process would have involved me having to run some build commands on my local machine, generate the artifacts, and having to manually upload it. All this takes time, right? Um, However, with your CI/CD, once the code is validated, test process passes, the next thing to generate the build and deploy it directly to wherever it to be deployed to with little to no manual intervention. So thereby you sped up your release. Release process is faster compared to when you're manually doing it. It's also minimized errors, but the chance of this error are very low in the sense that take an take an instance where you have environment variables, you have to configure flavors. Manually doing those process, right, involves you typing out the commands as part of your build argument in some cases. But where this command already sits on your CI, you don't have to always update this command. Your CI just picks it. Your CI picks it up, does the whole magic. It's deployed to wherever it's going to deploy to. Little intervention, minimal errors. Release process is faster, right? Everybody's happy. As a developer, you're happy. The team is happy. The business is happy. It's a win-win for everybody, right? So those are like some of the benefits of having a CI/CD pipeline, right? In for your mobile products, right? You could use self-hosted CI/CD solutions. You could use cloud-hosted CI/CD solutions. Uh, that's up to you and your team, right? Um, what does it involve? What does setting up a CI/CD pipeline involves? Right? What does setting up a CI/CD pipeline involve? So let's see. Um, you have to choose the right CI/CD tool. As an engineer, you ensure that you pick the right tool for the job, right? So the very first thing is picking the right CI/CD tool. Now there are a lot of CI/CD tools available out there, popular ones, right? GitHub Action is one very popular. We have GitLab CI/CD, we have CycleCI, Travis CI, we have Jenkins, we have CodeMagic, I think Bitrise, a host of CI/CD solutions out there, right? But let's look at some of the popular ones. We have GitHub Actions. GitHub Actions integrates with GitHub, right? It's like GitHub native CI/CD solution, right? You automate your workflow directly from your project repository. That's GitHub Actions. GitLab CI/CD, it's like GitHub Action, but it's integrated with GitLab, all right? So you are automating your workflow directly from your GitLab repository, right? However, CycleCI is not dependent on any platform. It's not dependent if you are working on GitHub or GitLab. It's a very flexible CI/CD tool that supports various environments. All you need is its respective YAML in your project, and you are good to go. There's also Jenkins, that is an automation server that supports with building, deploying, and automating your project. So the very first thing when I set up a CI/CD pipeline, right, is to choose the right CI/CD tool, right? Now, what are the criteria for selecting the right tool for your project? A couple of things I personally do look out for, which I also advise people to look out for when they try to pick a CI/CD tool for their mobile project. The very first thing you want to check its integration with existing deployment tools. If I pick things like if I pick this CI/CD platform, is there an existing process or existing deployment to say the Apple Store Connect, for example? Is there an existing deployment process or deployment tool to um, Play Store, Firebase app distribution, etc. Right? What tool am I using in development? As a software engineer, I might be using say something as simple as NVM, Flutter Version Manager. Does this CI/CD integrates properly with this Flutter Version Manager? Right. So integration with existing development tools that you are using. That's very first thing. The second one is how easy is it to use and configure this tool? The second thing is how easy it is to use and configure this tool. This cannot be overemphasized, right? Uh, I tell everyone, no matter how great a tool is, right? You want to be able to pick it easily, manipulate your way around and use it, right? So how easy it is to manipulate, how easy it is to configure, how easy it is to use, right? That's another criteria for getting the right tool for the project. Another is, oh, I am building a mobile product, a mobile application, right? Uh, does this to support the required? Is there support for the required platform? I need to be for Android. I need to be for iOS, right? Or I'm building for only Android or for only iOS. Whatever platform we are building for, does this tool have support for this platform? Are there solutions I can integrate with this tool that enables me to build and deploy for these platforms? That's another criteria for setting the right sort of technique tool. Another one that is very important is the community support and documentation. Are people using this tool? Is there a community around this tool? Are there documentations out there? If I run into issues, how would I get solutions? Oh, there exist documentations that I can go through. That's fine. Oh, there's a Discord channel. That's fine. Oh, the GitHub issue is they're already active on GitHub. I could open an issue and get response. Or they have a support channel, right? You have to. This is another very important thing to look out for, so you don't get stuck while using a particular tool, right? So I said the very first thing when you're trying to set up a CI/CD pipeline is to choose the right CI/CD tool, and this involves you ensuring that you check that the tool properly integrates with existing development tools. It's easy to use. It has support for your required platform, and there's great documentation and community support. Right now, having picked up this tool, right? Having picked up this tool, the next thing is, what is my workflow expected to look like? Oh, I want to start from building the application to deploying it to its respective store, right? So what is my workflow expected to look like, right? As a mobile engineer, my workflow, simply put, looks like this. I have to set up my environment. Uh, Let me use Flutter as an example. I work with Flutter day by day, right? So meaning setting up my environment means I have to ensure that I set up the Flutter repository, then the Flutter SDK, right? Um, if I have a particular Java version I'm using for Android, maybe say Java 17, for example, I have to set up Java 17. Are there environment variables? Right? I have to set this up because of the setting up the environment, right? At what point do I want this workflow to trigger itself? Should it trigger when I make a pull request? Should it trigger when I make a push to what branch? Right. So these are things to do where I try to set up your environment. So every workflow, every CI/CD workflow basically starts with that, setting up the environment. This action or this workflow or this process is going to run whenever I make a push to a master branch. It's going to run on a Mac OS or a Linux machine. I have to check out the code. I have to set up Java 11 or whatever Java version. I have to set up the Flutter SDK. Right, so that's all you consider as of the environment, right? It's as simple as saying it's as simple as having a machine in front of you. When I have my laptop or my Mac in front of me, right, and I want to start developing or building Flutter apps, I am going to set up the Flutter SDK, right, on my Mac or my machine. I'm going to set up uh, Java development kit on my machine, right? Then I'm going to do things like set up Xcode, download emulators and simulators, right? That's process, that's setting up my local environment. But now you're setting up your CI environment, right? Set up your environment, you check out the code or ensure that the CI has access to the repository code, right? After that, oh, do I want to make static checks? You want to validate the code, right? And how do you validate the code? You might validate the code via lint and static analysis checks. You might validate the code against running unit tests or automated tests, right? So those are ways where you validate the code. So that is also part of the workflow. I've set up my environment. We've checked out the code. The next thing is to ensure that there are no code problems. I have no code problems, right? Which involves doing lint checks, ensuring that the code is properly formatted, running automated tests if where available, right? That's the next step in the workflow. From there, you want to build for the respective platform. Are you an Android engineer and your platform is Android only? You're building with Jetpack Compose, right? You want to build the Android app. An iOS engineer, you're building for an iOS platform. At this point, you want to build for the iOS platform, right? So irrespective of whatever solution you are using, the generating the build for your required platform, right, is the next thing. While trying to generate the build, you should consider, am I code signing? Do I have to code sign the app? For Android, right, co-signing is basically having signing your app with a release key, a release or a debug key, right? So you want to ensure that you set up the key store if it's Android application. If it's an iOS application, you want to do proper code signing and provisioning, right? That's what you want to consider next. Then when the build is done and ready, the next step is deployment. Deployment is basically the next thing on your table, right? Yeah, so that's basically it. The workflow for CI/CD on a mobile app involves you setting up the environment, you checking out the code, you carrying out static code analysis, which could be linting, checking code formatting, right? You running automated tests, right? You ensuring that your key store or there's proper code signing and provisioning, you ensuring that your workflow also contains a build step for the required platform, and then deployment to the respective store or whatever the case may be. All right. So yes, a snippet I extracted from my CI/CD pipeline, which is hosted on GitHub Actions for one of our projects at Shortlash Mobility. So yeah, I've checked out the repository on the very first line. Checked out the repository. I set up Java 17, and yeah, I have set up the key store file itself, as you can see. So I've added the base64 format of the file to my repository secrets, and I'm basically writing that secret to a file called release.jks here in my repository. So this way, I've not committed the signing key to my repository. Instead, I have written the key. I've written um, the base64 format, decoded it, and written it to the JKS file itself. And so this is what Your setup typically involves you might have other things in here. Cases where you have private repository that need SSH access, you might set up the SSH key, access here, right? The SSH access here, setting up maybe the Android SDK or the Flutter SDK or whatever the case may be. That's what setup basically looks like. From setup, I mentioned earlier that you want to ensure proper linting tests where available. In this case, this is a Flutter app I'm trying to, this CI/CD belongs to a Flutter application. So here, I'm trying to analyze, right, and check that, try to analyze against formatting errors, right? So ensure that the code is well formatted. So I run the command that format and exit if changed, right? What we've done here is please run this command where cases where any file changes, right? Exit. Basically just terminates the action, exits the process, right? And that kills the CI. Or the CI fails there because somebody forgot to format their file properly. Yeah, analyze linked errors, right? The way to check for linting errors in the Flutter project is the Flutter analyze dots, which analyze the whole project itself, right? In your case, it could be for a native Android app or an iOS app. The command might be different, but similar process. You set up the links or tests, right? Then here I'm running my test, Flutter test with coverage. Then I'm uploading the coverage to codecov.io, right? So that's what this is simple. Um, this just an extract from a full CI pipeline on what needs checks and tests look like. From there, the next thing ideally I want to do is to build and send this app to whatever store I'm using, right? In this case, to build the Android app, I've said Flutter build APK release obfuscate. The target file is this and the dev flavor, right? The next thing will be to build that application, right? If you're on whatever framework you are using, whatever tooling you are using, the command may be different, but it's the same process. You want to build for the respective platform, all right? After building for the platform, the next thing will be to deploy to the respective store. In this case, we are deploying to Firebase app distribution, all right? And I've done some check against the GitHub reference and the head branch and whatever. You could ignore the if statement, but what we've done here is take the generated build file, which lies in build slash app slash output Flutter APK app dev release APK, right? So I'm saying, hey, take this binary and upload it to Firebase app distribution. Now I'm using GitHub Action, right? GitHub Action are basically GitHub Actions has a marketplace where a lot of community-based actions are hosted. Just see it as Legos, right? Building block, where you could combine a lot of Legos into one full pipeline, right? Where these Legos are like building blocks, right? So then exists a lot of individual actions there in the marketplace, which are like Legos that you could use to build the full pipeline, right? So in this case, I've used one of those action by with IBA. So WZIEBA, right? And he called this first Firebase distribution GitHub action, right? So I've used that action to upload this binary to Firebase app distribution, right? So basically, that's what the continuous deployment, right, is like. After your the CI work has been done, setting up the repository, linting checks, running tests, right? The app is built and deployed or sent to wherever it's been sent to. So here is let me see if I could. So here is a simple. Let's just an overview of one of the pipelines that we use for our test environment. So when you look at this, it's a job called build Android direct, right? Build this Android if the event is a push event and the reference branch is the develop branch. So here, what we did is we check out the repository, we set up SSH because we have some private repository, and for us to get those packages and dependencies, we need SSH keys. Part of our environment. We check out the repository, we set up SSH, we set up Java 17 because we need Java 17 to compile our Android application, right? So it's part of our it's part of setting up the environment. We also decode the key stuff file, right? Which is basically taking the base 64 encoded version, decoding it and writing it to the key.jks file, like I showed earlier. Then, of course, we try to cache the Flutter dependencies. We have Shorebird for over-the-air updates and code push. We try to cache the Shorebird SDK also. Then we try to cache the Gradle dependencies. Then we set up Flutter SDK. We set up Shorebird. We tried the cache initially, so in cases where we get to the Flutter setup, once the cache exists already, it skips the Flutter setup, right? That's how the cache comes earlier. Similarly for the Shorebird SDK, set up Shorebird. If the cache already exists, it skips that process. We install dependencies. We build the Android app. Now that's the build process. You build the Android app. Once you build it, we generate a release note, and then we upload the artifact to Firebase app distribution, whose which command I showed earlier, which is basically this all that is under the upload artifacts to Firebase app distribution. Just taking the binary with its release notes and sending it to Firebase app distribution. So this is what a pipeline, a CI/CD pipeline, GitHub posted on GitHub Actions look like. An overview of everything. As you can see, I've collapsed every step of this job, so that it can be easy to also look at it. Similarly, the iOS also looks like this. Similarly, here's what the iOS looks like. Same process. Same process. We check out the repository. We set up SSH, right? We cache the Flutter dependencies. iOS, we use pods, right? Cocoa pods. We cache the Cocoa pods dependencies. We set up the Flutter SDK. We set up Shorebird. There are also some tools we use. We use CodeMagic CLI tools, right? Especially for some other processes, right? We also have to set up the CodeMagic CLI as part of our environment setup. We also want to set up keychain, right? Earlier, I mentioned code signing and provisioning. So in this case, for iOS, we are setting up keychain. We want to fetch the signing file. All right, we'll fetch the signing file and set up the signing certificate for the project. So once we are done with that, the next thing is to build the IPA for distribution and to generate our release notes, then deploy it to App Store Connect. So that's basically how the whole CI pipeline works. Irrespective of the framework you're using, it's the same at a high level. So CI/CD isn't just a workflow, right? It's basically a lifeline that keeps your code flowing seamlessly from your keyboard where you're working on into the hands of your users, right? Without you having to bother yourself. You just keep punching at the code and making commits and pushing, right? It's the work of the pipeline to take that code and deploy it to your users. So just see it as an open pipe from your keyboard to your user's hand, right? This is why I said it's a lifeline that keeps your code flowing seamlessly from keyboard to user's hand. So thank you so much. That's everything from me. Yeah, some other resources like Code Magic, Bitrise, and Cycle. Yeah.
All right. That was good. That was a good talk. Samuel,
Thank you.
thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for your time. Yep. I think so. We are at the end of this cloud and backend track for the TIL conference. I hope you guys had lots of fun and got to learn a lot of it more. So yeah, thank you. We'll be rolling out the promotions as well as the promo codes and the books by them. Yeah, I'll add Santosh.
Hey Minal, so we are done
Hello.
here, right? Hey, hi.
Yeah, we are done.
Uh, okay, cool. So I'll end the stream, and then Samuel, just stay in the backstage, please. Don't leave the stream until your recording is done.